up?
Good morning.
Good.
Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Hope your commute has been good this morning.
Fabulous.
And if you just started, well, then you know you're starting your morning out right.
With the vibe.
Vibecast. I literally went to the bathroom, came back, said, "Welcome to the Vibecast," and that's all we've been saying before we've started this episode. So, yeah, that's the vibes we're throwing your way this morning.
We're chilling with the vibes.
Oh my, yo, what are we talking about this morning?
Oh man, what? I guess a good opener, which we love to talk about because it brings such good vibes. Vibecast. All right. What is your favorite place?
In PA?
Anywhere
In the entire world.
Like
in
anywhere,
the universe?
Like if you had a place that you would be like, hands down, you need to go to this place because it's my favorite of all time.
Oh, okay. Well, if we want to go that way, it'd definitely be Nice, France. It's an amazing Mediterranean town right next to, what is that place called in Italy where they do the race car driving? Monaco.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
It's right next to Monaco, and it's so cool. I can go into a lot more detail. I went there in the spring, so it was still pretty cold, but like the beach and like I love France. France is my kind of place. So go to Nice, France if you ever need somewhere to go.
Not gonna lie though, like if you're in France, man, I'm going with Italy.
Okay.
Like, bro, we'll be in the same.
All right, cool. I'll see you there.
Imagine the things we could do in Europe. But Italy, there's these really small towns. I haven't been there, but I already know it'll be my favorite place. That or the Igafu, something like that. I can't really say it, but there's this road in Iceland as well.
Oh, okay.
Life Walter Mitty. If you that scene where he like goes down in his longboard. Rips off his like thing. Yeah, that place, and somebody from Silo, Tom Films, actually had a Walter Mitty moment and went there. So it would be either that or in Italy, where there's these small towns where you can buy like houses for like $5. And like you don't know what they're gonna look like inside. But imagine like living in an old town in Italy, bought a house for maybe $5, and just enjoying just the scenery and like the life of being an Italian.
Sounds like where I'm gonna retire.
Bro,
I'm gonna move to Italy.
Europe is beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
There's amazing places in the United States, but it's always been a dream to like check out Europe.
Just get out there, dude.
Check it
Just
out.
say yes.
But the only way to get to those places is you have to cross
the boundaries.
Yes. Well, we were on the same headspace there.
That was not planned?
Nope. The vibes that we have here at the Vibecast. But boundaries, man. Talk to me. What do you think about them? What is boundaries to you? Like, if you could give me, like, a couple sentences.
Boundaries are things put in place to protect you from any number of negative consequences, things, ideas, places. Man, that sounded like I just read it out of a dictionary.
It was
not gonna
really
lie.
good. That was
I'm not gonna
really
lie.
good.
That was like some official wording for it.
That was insane, man.
But yeah, I think those boundaries, especially in the creative space, are like where I put my time.
Yeah.
What do you think about boundaries?
Dude, I don't know how I can fall off for something like as amazing as that was. But I think boundaries, just to add on to that, also are neither limiting nor controlling.
Explain that to me.
Because I think when people mention boundaries, they immediately think of like a relationship. And they think like, oh, that person's putting boundaries. Like, that's something I can't do. And that's a almost very negative concept to think of, because then you try to take it personally and you're like, man, I gotta put boundaries on myself? Like, that's like super limiting. Like, I can't go out and do this. Like, no. Boundaries are necessary, because if we don't have them, then we quickly realize that the world around us is too much of a stressor, and then we go down.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's kind of what I was just about to say, is like there is such thing as overstimulation, overworking yourself. And in all those kinds of ways, the healthy thing to do, I would say the mature thing to do, is to take some time and realize, I'm on the verge of like getting burnt up. I'm going to touch the sun soon. I'm going to be burnt out. And that means the end of any, not motivation, any momentum that you have.
And you brought up an amazing analogy, which I was going to touch upon, is like, exactly. Think of boundaries as, just think of it as, okay, so let's say you're a bird and you're flying. The reason why airplanes, birds, just anything that's in the sky doesn't hit a certain altitude is because there's potential of damage, potential of risk, potential of just overall just burning up because you're so close to the sun. And think of in this analogy as the sun is that breaking point. The sun is that point where if you get there, you're going to go down.
Yeah.
And you're going to burn up because you just have reached that point. And so you want to be hitting, I think airplanes it's around 30,000. Like that's your limit, okay? Like you hit 30,000 and different people, it might be higher, might be lower. I mean, it's all dependent on where you have found that space.
Do you find that to be do you schedule that kind of stuff? Do you find your boundary by arbitrarily putting it there and saying, do I ever hit the boundary, or am I super close or super far away from what I actually put in?
I think that ultimately boundaries they're both natural and scheduled.
Okay.
Because in order to get to the schedule, you have to naturally figure out what they are. Because like if you go ahead of it thinking this is my schedule, then you're not going to achieve the boundaries that you originally thought. Because you're going to be almost hurting yourself before you even get out to race. Because you have to naturally figure out, okay, this makes me happy. This brings me joy. Yeah. This I need to do because it brings me money. But then what are those things that are like overwhelming you? And unfortunately, it's something that we have to learn, and it can be almost hurtful at times and just be a struggle, is because those boundaries that we face and that we hit, that naturally we find out that are really stressors, we gotta let them go. I mean, when you're up in that high altitudes and you're getting closer and closer to the sun, you got to let go and dive down a little bit. And that's okay. Yeah. But it's through that natural process that we figure out, okay, this is how I can schedule my day to day and make sure that I'm actually scheduling in time that I can come down. Right. Because throughout the day, it's like 8 a.m., you're starting that climb. But if you never have moments where you dip down a little bit, then you're just going to be becoming overwhelmed, overheated, and then you're going to burn up quickly before you know it. And it's tomorrow again. Yeah.
I was going to say, if I'm checking in with myself, I am at the upper end of my boundaries with work as is. And that's just me being very honest. I can't be taking on tons of new projects with what I'm currently working on. And I'm slowly realizing that from hitting the top end, being like skimming and like, there's sparks flying. I'm like,
and You're feeling it.
It's like, those Razor scooters that have the spark things in the back.
Spark scooters?
Exactly. I'm making the sparks by hitting the concrete and realizing, boom, boom, okay, I can't be hitting that hard. Exactly. I need to take out an hour of my day each day and say no work emails.
Exactly. And
go ahead.
And exactly what you're saying is like this whole time we've been saying like make sure to say yes to things. But on the flip side of that, you have to learn to be okay to say no. Yeah. Because if you're unable to say no and set those boundaries, yes, I think there's always this fear of like if you say no, people are going to be like, "Oh, that's the final time I'm asking them." No. Like it's that one time that you have to think, okay, this is a boundary that I have in place. This is something that I need to hold on to. And people will adjust. your schedule will adjust. People will be okay with, okay, now I know that Fridays for Austin is not a thing for me. I can't ask him to do this because this is a place that he's put in.
There's a lot of respect with that.
Oh,
but
boundaries are respect.
Imagine you tell your employer, and it might be a hard thing, but if you're like cool or some kind of, okay with your employer, you say, listen, I work for you 9 to 5. Outside of that, if I'm not getting paid for that, why would I take on the stresses of my work life?
It's so huge, and you're hitting on a topic that's I think very attainable to people, is because, I mean, we both work in churches, and as much as we love to work in churches, it's an organization that strives on volunteers.
Yeah.
And so if you are unable to say no to something, the church is going to use you. And that's just what that's what it is. And that's with your 9 to 5, that's with the church, it's anywhere. It's because if you are unable to say no, like if somebody's calling you at 8 a.m. in the morning because somebody forgot to come in.
And you
pick up, like, it's okay
to do it again.
Hang up. Like, you don't have to answer that call. Or if you answer that call and they're like, hey, can you come in? I'm sorry, I have plans today.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's needed. And it's sometimes, like, I'm seeing that with friends and people that are close. And in my own life, I'm like, shoot, I'm not saying no. Like, I'm not looking at something. I'm like, I'm the type of person like, I can do this. Like, even though I'm hitting that limit, I'm like, I can go another 1,000 feet. Oh, shoot, I can touch it a little bit more.
But also, at the same time, and I realize this in my relationship, is that if I say yes to something, something else will fall through the cracks or be hurt. If I say yes to another photography gig, my relationship, the hours I might be able to spend with someone I love, is going to be, even just if it's scratched just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that scratch can turn into, okay, it wasn't that bad. I can take on another gig, but that person might not tell you, you're actually hurting me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And that's something you have to be aware of. If you take on something, usually something is hurt, scratched, killed off from that.
Exactly. And
you're spreading yourself thinner.
I guess we're also trying to say is, like, it's okay to take on those gigs, but it's also, you need to make sure that you're balancing it out on the other end. So every hour, every 2 hours that you add on to work, you have to make sure that at the end of the week that you're giving that person or giving that opportunity to work on yourself an extra hour. Because like you said, you're spreading yourself too thin, but then you got to make sure on the back end of things that it's starting to pile up more so that you can decompress. Because boundaries, I consider boundaries it's almost like, you ever see the individual that went from building to building, like, super high on just a tightrope, and he has that, like, pole to kind of help balance him?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. Because if a wind or something picks up and it makes one side heavier than the other, he's hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And that's exactly with boundaries. Is like, you are walking on a line, and it might be a bigger one, it might be a smaller one, depending on what you're doing in your life. But if you aren't balancing that pole that is your lifeline, then you're going to fall. You're going to hit the pavement, and you're going to lose people that you thought you never would have lost.
Yeah. Because
unfortunately, like you said, the scratches and continuing to scratch something and not allowing it for you to heal, that scab is going to become a scar.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to learn to be okay with that scar, because that's what happens.
Right. In the wondrous words of Pete Rodriguez, he actually touched on this in a master class. He said, your commitment to saying no will determine your opportunities to say yes. And by saying no to good things, sometimes really good things, you free yourself up to say yes to the best things. He says that discerning between what is good and what is best is the direct fruit of maturity and wisdom that applies to all aspects of our lives, especially in the ups and downs of our creative careers. So, I mean, the truth is, we're only ever one no away from having the capacity to do the thing that we've been wanting to do and then land the dream project that we've always wanted to land. He says, good is great, but best is better.
Amen.
It's like he just preached to us really
literally
quick.
When he did that one, I literally fell on my feet because I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's boundaries are something that so many people ignore because we're in a culture that you have to take on more.
Yeah.
That you have to do more. Because if you don't, then what? Like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, boundaries are so key to our lives that people negate to experience them.
Here's a real world example, okay?
Oh, shoot.
At the end of July, I told everyone, listen, I'm going to raise my prices on my photo sessions. I'm putting a new boundary in place on the low end of my prices because I have learned through testimonies, through comparison to others, and through my own self-value and value of my time. I said, the product that I'm putting out, the effort I'm putting out is not equal or manageable for the price that I'm doing currently. The boundary has been set now that I am saying no to cheaper options.
Yeah.
And I'm saying yes to better things. And a lot of the time when people have higher budgets, this is a little insider thing, but also no way a brag. But when people pay more, they're actually more lenient on things. They're not stingy with, hey, I can only pay you $150 and I expect it to be done on A, B, C.
Yeah.
When they say, here's $500, make the best project you can make.
Exactly.
And there's no boundary, and there's no like, boundaries isn't the right word there.
There's no cap.
No cap. No cap. No cap.
No cap. No lie, lie, lie.
When there's none of that, people just are willing to just go with who you are. I am saying I am worth blank.
And it's huge.
I'm saying no to
the undervalue.
To the undervalue of me.
It's important. Because boundaries, if you think about it, it can be such a borderline thing. Just be on the surface. But you really get into it, it's about self-love. It's about valuing your work. I mean, it's a super key thing. And I mean, that's the stuff we're talking about. It's like with Silo and our own lives, we're realizing, like, shoot, we want to be able to give the best lemons to everybody. Lemons. We want to make sure that you guys are making lemonade. But we want to make sure that we're providing the community to the best of our opportunities. That we're loving the community and making sure that everybody that's involved within Silo is getting our best.
Right.
And so that's why this is coming to an end of our first season of the podcast.
Would you look at that? We're going to set a boundary. We're going to do, I guess, I don't know how many episodes. I think it's like 12 episodes.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. 3 months was our first season. And we will be back next month. The following month.
Yeah, after September.
September with a new season of the podcast.
Season 2, baby.
Season 2. So we're rounding it out. We're going to take a little break because we know what our limits are.
We know our boundaries.
And because of that, we say no to a podcast for a month. And what's key about that is you saying no gives you free time to rest. And just as powerful as creativity is, there is equal power in rest because it brings back the battery power for creation.
Absolutely.
So we understand that and say, you're not going to get our best performance, our best self. You're not going to get our best information, best learning, best education, best personality, best personable skills if we don't take time to do ourselves the correct favor of self-love, self-understanding, self-reflection.
Amen, brother. It's and by no means is it like, oh shoot, they're not like we're doing things that we can help better the community through that month off. So then we can enjoy like doing things and we can enjoy each other, we can enjoy our community. And so it's been a real 12 episodes.
It's been real.
It's been legit.
And we're not going anywhere, but we're also going somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And we're excited for our next season and what's to come from that. Because we love these things.
This is therapy. We're literally sitting in 2 chairs facing each other, talking about pretty deep topics.
It's
so
amazing.
We're learning just as much as maybe you guys are, or at least, having fun while we're at it.
Because we have our antics, our random noises, our random sounds, and also just our laughs.
Seriously. All right, guys. Well, have a good rest of your drive. Take it easy the rest of the week. Say yes to something. Also, have an accountability partner. Also, learn to say no. At the same time, isn't it crazy? We started out this month talking about saying no. Or saying yes to things.
Yeah.
And now we're saying, say some no's.
And isn't that a lovely boundary that we put in place?
Yeah. Seriously. Okay, guys. Catch you next time. See you in a month.
Stay tubular.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.